Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. Welcome to Extra Crispy. For today's video, we got a little bit of a fun game that we are going to be playing with this one, guys. Video by Austin Sweat titled Every NBA Star's Favorite Player Growing Up. So what we're going to do as we go through this video is we are going to kind of like determine, what you guys hope in the comment section below, by the way, if we think that the certain player that liked the player growing up, like if their style of play kind of resembles that player. You know, man, because sometimes you'll be watching one of your childhood heroes, and like when you are growing up and working on your craft, you sometimes want to like mimic them, you know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead, man, check this out. Also, if y'all could do me a quick favor and please drop a like on this video, and while we're at it, man, let me know in the comment section below, who was your favorite NBA player growing up? Mine was Chauncey Billups. Also like Yao Ming.
Every NBA star's childhood
Dirk,
hero,
of course, Dirk
or their favorite NBA players growing up. The title's self-explanatory, but I will say that I did include most of the league's superstars, and then just a lot of other great current players at random. So not every great player in the league today is going to make an appearance in the video, but that does leave room for a part 2 in the future. So if you end up wanting to see that, comment and let me know. But as for now, this video starts with Giannis.
Shaquille O'Neal.
He really loved watching a lot of different players as a kid, but one of his favorites was Scottie Pippen, because he was one of
Scottie Pippen, you know what, man? I actually do see a little bit of Scottie Pippen and Giannis. Just because, like, you know, Scottie, of course, was pretty much a pointing forward. You know, like taking the basketball, man, was always good passes. Just good all around. Just when it came to his craft, he did everything exceptionally well out there. And that's pretty much what Giannis is like, minus shooting. But he's working on it at least. Was Scottie Pippen a great three-point shooter? Like, I don't know. I don't have the percentages in front of me, but was he, like, absolutely fantastic at it? Regardless, he was, like, one of those jack-of-all-trades type of guys, and I kind of do see that in Giannis.
One of the best two-way players ever. And the other was Allen Iverson.
I don't see no way behind Giannis. Maybe attacking the basket.
On the court, with him being a little guy and playing with giants, but still never back down. Which is crazy that that's his reasoning, and now he's one of the giants people have to play against. But he really has
he never backs down, though, either.
Guys and put it into his own game, since he's proven that he's great on both ends, and really works harder than almost anyone in the league. LeBron James said his favorite player was always Michael Jordan, like many
self-explanatory, not much to say about that one.
Kids his age, but in his words, Allen Iverson was like a god to him.
Everybody loved AI.
He represented what black kids were all about, and he resonated with every inner city kid in the world who had a struggle. Michael Jordan inspired me, and I looked up to him, but he was out of this world. AI was really
AI was just did so much more. Not saying MJ didn't do so much more, but
because it was the Toronto Raptors.
Sometimes it's bigger than basketball.
He said since it was a new team to the league, when he was a kid, he just wanted to be a part of it. And this by default, of course, meant that his favorite player was Vince Carter. When asked who his favorite player currently in the league was, though, he said it's been Paul George for a long time. Because everything he does is so smooth, and he can really do anything on the court, whether it's pass or...
You know, if anything, Paul George kind of like you, KD. Because you snaked your bitch ass away from the OKC Thunder. And now Paul George did the same damn thing. Damn, it came full freaking circle. Wow, more like freaking S. Like a snake. I mean, you know, I don't know, Paul George is... What do you guys think about Paul George? I don't feel like we give him enough heat like we did Kevin Durant. That's for damn sure. I mean, of course, he didn't join 73-19, but Paul George did join the Finals MVP in Kawhi Leonard. So I don't know.
Rebound, score, defend.
Maybe it means nothing. Maybe I'm just crazy
for
thinking that.
Speaking of Paul George, he recently came out and said that he was always a Clippers fan growing up, and no one's been buying it.
No
but he
cap.
was a 2014 Bleacher Report article that talks about how his whole family were fans of the Lakers, but PG always went with the Clippers because he liked their style of play. He must not have liked winning, but he still chose them as his team, even though Kobe Bryant was by far...
Y'all love watching freaking Chris Kaman and Corey Maggette? That was your squad? That was the fun ones out there? Freaking lying, bro.
His favorite player. He said he had the Kobe jersey, he'd do the Kobe walk,
but you like the Clippers,
and would do that walk everywhere while doing the Kobe stare down face. But what he loved most about him was his work ethic and his competitiveness. Two things he's taken with him ever since he started playing basketball. Besides Kobe, though, he said that T-Mac and Penny Hardaway were his other favorite players. Steph Curry, on the other hand, idolized two players not so commonly mentioned in Reggie Miller and Steve Nash. He said
he's literally both those guys. He is literally both those guys. He has the three-point shooting of Reggie Miller, but he has the handles, I'll probably say that Steve Nash overall is a better passer. I think we can all agree on that. But the efficiency of Steve Nash, because Steve Nash, I wish he would have shot more. Because who knows, man? We could have been talking about Steve Nash being greatest three-point shooter. But I'm not going to lie, man. Like, I ain't just saying that. I mean, Steve Nash kind of said himself. Kind of wish he would have shot more. But
loved Reggie's
Curry's literally both those players.
Clutch gene and work with playing off the ball. Then with Steve Nash, who always was a fan of his creativity and combination of passing and
Love
shooting.
his passing, so
and
much
he
fun.
said that he's done his best to try and combine both guys' key attributes to his own game.
He pretty much
and
did.
You gotta admit, he's done a pretty good job of that. Then surprisingly, Russell Westbrook said his favorite player was Magic Johnson. There's never been a player quite like Russ, so it makes sense that his favorite player's game doesn't necessarily resemble his. But then in another interview at one point, he
ain't no
said
Magic.
his favorite player was Pau Gasol because he just liked how he played, which is even more random.
Pau
Bradley
Gasol,
Beal, on
okay.
the other hand, wore number 23 in high school and college as a tribute to his childhood hero in LeBron James. But switched to the number 3 jersey when joining the Wizards as a tribute to his other idol in Dwayne Wade. And it was something that he didn't really...
if he likes LeBron that much, I'm surprised he didn't actually kind of fight a bit more to get to the Lakers, because that was definitely a big rumor out there was, Bradley Beal going to the Lakers via some sort of trade. I'm surprised he didn't fight for that a bit more, you know what I'm saying?
Tell anyone until he told Wade when they swapped jerseys in the last game they played against each other. Joel Embiid has said the first time he ever watched a basketball game was the 2009 NBA Finals where Kobe and the Lakers played the Magic. Then 2 years later was the first time he ever got to play an actual game of basketball, and every time he'd throw up a shot, he'd yell Kobe. And ever since then, Embiid has said that Bryant was the reason that he was inspired to ever start playing the sport.
Okay, obviously not a similar play style, being a big ass center.
Start though, his game is resembled Hakeem Olajuwon, and that's what a lot of coaches would show him tapes of every day and try to get him to base his game off of that. So then eventually, Hakeem became his other favorite player. On the opposite end of things, Kyle Kuzma grew up with a love for the game as a little kid, and a love for the players who were able to be clutch in the fourth quarter. So his idols became Kobe Bryant, his now teammate LeBron James, and Tim Duncan. He said, those guys bring it all the time in fourth quarter.
There's like a certain group of players that always gotta say their favorite, you know what I'm saying?
And while we're on the Los Angeles Lakers, we should
base.
mention Anthony Davis, and the fact that he said his favorite player has always been LeBron James, which is the reason he's worn the number 23 for all of his career up until now. So himself and Kuzma probably feel like they're living the dream playing with him this year.
Get Bradley Beal out there now.
Someone not so much a fan of the Lakers is Kawhi Leonard, who, like Paul George, said his family was always a fan of the team, but he wasn't because he was a big fan of Allen Iverson. James Harden's favorite player is probably the strangest of the video in Jason Capono, who was
I love Jason Capono! Oh my, dude, I love this guy. Oh my god, I'm not just saying that. I'm not just saying that, dude. Jason Capono, NBA 2K5? This man was lethal. He was my go-to player. I would do, online my leagues and stuff, or whatever it was at that time. And I would always pick him up last pick in the draft. He'd always be the leading scorer. This man would make 10 threes in a row. He's a beast.
Nothing more than a role-playing shooter in the NBA.
Oh, he's more than that.
Harden loved him as a child because he was always a big UCLA fan growing up, and Capono led the team in scoring for 4
Love
straight
Jason
years.
Capono.
Then Dwight Howard's favorite player was Kevin Garnett, and when he retired, Dwight wrote on Instagram,
I think like
"My
Kelly
favorite
Oubre.
player ever. Thank you for inspiring me. I'm gonna miss all the scraps and fights we had on the court, but I'm never gonna forget the talk we had after you headbutted me." Derrick Rose has said Tracy McGrady was his favorite player in 6.
I agree with that. Derrick Rose in his prime, well, he never really reached his prime, but Derrick Rose MVP season, pretty much the point guard equivalent of what T-Mac would have been, right?
In 7th grade, but when he got to high school was when LeBron James grew in popularity, and then he quickly became his favorite player.
Yeah, fair enough.
Levine said his favorite was also Tracy McGrady and Kobe Bryant.
I can see
Kobe
his
because of his
athleticism
winning
in there.
instinct, his work ethic, and his mindset
His
going
dunking
into
ability.
every game. And then T-Mac because of how good he was, with his smooth game and his own style. With his 2 favorite moments being the 13 points in 35 seconds,
Gotta
and
love
Kobe's
that.
62 points in 3 quarters. Klay Thompson's all-time favorite player was also Kobe, but growing up as a kid, a lot of his childhood was spent in Portland, so he found himself rooting for the Blazers. And in a turn of events,
Rasheed
his
Wallace.
favorite on the team was Rasheed
Ah,
Wallace.
that was a guess.
Then Andrew
That was a
Wiggins'
guess.
2 favorite players were Allen Iverson and Vince Carter. AI because of how he approached the game, and Vince without question because Wiggins was born in Toronto. And he's turned out to be every bit as athletic as Carter, but still hasn't done as much to show it. On an opposite side of things, on the court, Blake Griffin doesn't resemble the guys he looked up to at all, with him saying his idols were Michael Jordan, Shaq, Vince Carter, and Tracy McGrady.
I mean, just like the crazy highlight poster. I see Blake Griffin doing that a lot. I saw a lot of these guys doing that a lot
You
too.
can't blame him though, because as you can tell, all of those guys were fan favorites. Chris Paul said his favorite player as a kid was Michael Jordan, while Kyrie Irving tried to model his game after CP3, as well as Derrick Rose and Chauncey Billups. Coming into the league though, he said his favorite player was also Kobe Bryant, who he spent a lot of time trying to earn his
Everybody loves Kobe
ever since then. Most notably challenging him to a game of one-on-one for $50,000 during the Olympics one year. Lauri Markkanen as well as Luka Doncic have both played against their heroes growing up in LeBron James, where they've both gone on record and said how much he meant to them, and in return LeBron
Luka Doncic got like that all-around game like
LeBron
LeBron got.
Both guys are on separate occasions. Dwayne Wade isn't in the league anymore, but he's current enough. And he said that he idolized MJ his whole life, but Michael was like a ghost to him, while Kobe was a more realistic hero for him to have, and he was who he looked up to growing up in high school and college. Then once he got into the league, he was his inspiration. They only played twice a year, but D-Wade would use Bryant to measure himself. He wanted to be on Kobe's level, so that pushed him to become great. Jamal Murray grew up in Kitchener, Ontario, and just like any Canadian player, that automatically means Carter was who he idolized while growing up. Murray even said, "I get more starstruck seeing him than I do seeing Kobe or LeBron. He's the guy that I get excited for every time I see him check into the game." Damian Lillard's a guy who doesn't get his starstruck by some of his all-time favorites, and said that he never tried to model his game off of anyone else.
That's kind of good.
But his childhood hero was Allen Iverson, because he was always the smallest guy on the court who had the biggest heart, and would do everything he could to bring his team.
What about Isaiah Thomas?
Night. AI was also John Wall's favorite player growing up, and the energy and heart that he plays with shows some similarities in both of their games. Plus, they were both two of the most athletic guards in the NBA. Then when John Wall was asked if he could choose a starting five with himself in it, he would have himself, AI, Jordan, Olajuwon, and Shaq. Then we have DeMar DeRozan, who grew up in Compton, California. So his favorite team was always the Los Angeles Lakers.
Kobe!
Which meant that Kobe was his idol.
Kobe and Iverson.
He said now that he's been lucky enough to have went from calling him an idol to now a friend, with them having built a relationship over all the games they played together. And he said that Kobe was a mentor for him while he was still in the league. Switching things up from the normal fan favorites though, you might recall that Draymond Green's favorite player was Ben Wallace.
Hey,
this is the letter he wrote thanking him for being an inspiration a couple of years back.
Big Ben, bro.
He talked about how it has to be fate that Wallace ended up playing in Detroit, right near the same city that he grew up. And the fact that watching Ben outwork everyone and playing with the heart of a lion as an undersized player encouraged
I do see some Big Ben and Draymond. I ain't gonna lie on that one.
Then,
I
even
do.
though Karl Anthony Towns grew up in New Jersey, his best friend's favorite team was the Nets. So he picked the Knicks as his team to give them a fun rivalry.
Eddie Curry.
And his favorite players were Walt Frazier and Patrick Ewing, with Ewing being his real favorite.
Bro, you ain't even that old, man.
He was able to afford tickets to a Knicks game growing up, but he was lucky enough to be able to watch all of their games on TV. With D'Angelo Russell, you'd probably never guess who his favorite player was, because he's probably the only star in the league whose idol was Manu. It's
What's
an
wrong with
unusual
that?
choice, but he really patterned his game.
That's not a weird choice. I think that's
They're
fine.
both left-handed, good passers.
No weirder than Jason
and
Capono.
not the fastest or most athletic guards out there. D'Angelo said his favorite thing about is how he impacts the whole game as soon as he steps on the floor. And that's what he's looked to do with his game
That was a
too.
push-off right there.
Jason Tatum's favorite player has also always been Kobe Bryant, which means he used to actually hate the Boston Celtics growing up. So playing for them might have been tough for him at first, but he's gotten to work
you get
out
that
with Kobe
first
the past
payday, it's
couple
all
of off
good.
seasons, so it all worked out for him. He did model a lot of his game off of Kobe though, as well as other guys like Tracy McGrady, Carmelo Anthony, Paul George, and Kevin Durant. Then for the last player in Isaiah Thomas, you'd think his favorite player would be someone on the smaller side, but his favorite player was actually never based off of anyone that resembled him. Because he said he used to love the Sonics, so his favorites as a kid were Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. But since he grew up in a house where the rest of his family were Lakers fans, he grew up enjoying the Lakers too, with Kobe being one of his top 3 favorite players. And there you have it. That's
okay, so to sum up this video, every single player ever has loved Kobe Bryant. Can't say I blame him.